And finally, allow silence to give space for thoughts to grow. When you're ready, unmute and dive in. We're glad you're here.
What's up?
All right, I'm unmuted.
So, you want to go first or should I go first?
I'll try. So I'm just going to click a card here.
All right, so we're L1.
Got here. What is a particularly defining life lesson you were taught?
No, that's L2. Do you see L1?
Oh, that's L2. Now I see L1.
Okay, it wasn't loaded? Interesting.
I just clicked the second card.
Oh, okay.
What is something precious you had that was your favorite color at the time?
Yeah.
And then I
can go
answer the
first.
question?
I can go first.
Okay.
So, in high school, I had this like Adidas track jacket that was like fluorescent green. And I freaking loved it because at my high school we had a uniform, so I had to wear beige khakis, I had to wear a white polo, and like your jacket was like where all of your flair and your personality could be. And so I loved to run. I was on the track team, so I loved the sportiness of it. I loved how like green it was and it just like popped. It was like a very, very lush, vibrant green. And that was like my go-to like on campus. And so you could see me like across the whole campus because my jacket was just so bright green.
Cool. I used to have, these big dump trucks. They're really, really big ones at quarries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They have this particular shade of yellow. And for the longest time, that's been my favorite color. And I never really knew why until I realized that a lot of my toys are that particular color.
That's so cool. So these were like toys you would play in the sandbox, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Mostly all sorts of like construction site vehicles, cranes and trucks and stuff like that.
You want to move to the next one?
Let's do it. And so the idea here is that we just sort of open them one by one.
Yeah.
Got it.
And we'd be in a group of 5 people normally.
Yeah, okay. What is a particularly defining life lesson you were taught? Oh, man, that is deep.
It's only level 2.
It's only level 2. A deep life lesson. I think one somewhat recent thing that comes to mind is I had launched some apps together with a friend of mine. And we had implemented a subscription feature, which was it was a new thing on Google and Apple. And it tripled our revenue. And at the same time, we started getting mails from people who had signed up for these things and then forgotten them, and that spent like hundreds of dollars on them and basically got nothing out of it. And some of these people were from Brazil, or they were from other parts of the country where that was like a whole month's worth of salary. And at that moment in time, it became very clear to me how quickly people become numbers. And I also realized how difficult it was to switch off that feature. And I think that impacted me quite a lot.
How would you summarize the lesson exactly, like into one phrase?
I think the lesson for me in one phrase was how easy it is to forget that the numbers, there are actually real people behind them.
Yeah.
What about you? Did you have any particularly
that's
defining
deep. I'm just
lessons?
processing what you're saying, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the whole problem with the internet, right? Is that like,
Mhm.
it's crazy. For me, I feel like a particularly defining life lesson was something my grandpa always used to say, which was that like good things come with time, not ahead of time. And if you ever feel like there's an urgency that you have to do something, or if I feel like there's ever an urgency that I have to do something by a certain time period, I always remind myself that lesson. And it's like the more patient plan will always outperform. We can't just like
Hmm.
rush things. You can't just like throw things together and try to catch a window, try to catch an opportunity. You have to be patient. You have to like really lay proper foundations for things. Build slowly.
I think
Like
that is, yeah.
think about like think about like my whole thing that happened together. The reason that it all happened the way it did was because I wanted to just like quickly put things together and I just like agreed to a contract. But if I was patient and thoughtful, I would have been like, okay, the proper way to do this is to have like a joint venture or something
Hmm.
where I have autonomy and whatever went down couldn't have happened.
It's interesting because I think that there's a balance there. And I think I used to be very much at the other end of the spectrum,
Mm,
where I would often let many opportunities slip by because I spent too long thinking about them
mm,
or considering them.
mm,
So I remember in college, I started hanging out with people who I think were more like you,
mm,
very entrepreneurial
mm,
go getters.
mm.
And I realized, man, there's something to learn there. But I
Well,
also got to
yeah,
see like
yeah,
what happens when you take it too far.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so like the thing about these life lessons, right, is like think of them like medication.
Hmm.
What's good medication for me might be bad medication for you. You shouldn't just start
Yeah.
taking other people's meds. So this is a med that's good for me because
Hmm.
I'm someone who's very biased towards action. I'm someone who's like, I need to email 500 people right now, And so like I
Hmm.
need I need this medication to be like, no, 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 no. Good things come with time, right?
Yeah.
My dad used to say to me like, your job as like a leader of a business is to go to every single networking event and be there from sunrise to sundown or sunrise to
Hmm.
sunrise actually, and like because how late some of these things go, and you can't miss any opportunity. You have to be everywhere all at once all the time, and that was like very as a different life lesson I was taught that I took to heart, but I needed
Hmm.
a yin to the yang.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would go crazy, and I did go crazy, unfortunately, at times. But yeah, there's. I think for me, like looking at like Twitter life lessons and stuff, it's important to remember
Hmm.
that all of these things are medication, and like you can't just like take other people's meds blindly. You have to think about like what's right for you. What do you need? So like
Yeah.
maybe you need the opposite of be patient. You need like nothing happens unless you take action or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh, who went first last time? You did. I can go first here.
Hmm.
Now we're getting like even deeper. What was one thing your parents did that was important for you to change?
Ooh. Well, I think that ties very much to what we just talked about.
Yeah.
My parents, they are very laid back,
Hmm.
very relaxed about many things.
Hmm.
And that's something I realized that I had to change about myself. Like
Hmm.
being laid back and relaxed is good, but you also have to lean forward into life.
Hmm.
You have to like, yeah, lean into it, do stuff. And that was probably the main reason why I started as an entrepreneur, making my own businesses. It's because I felt the need to change. I was tired of being sort of passive.
You needed agency in your life.
Exactly.
Agency is the fucking word of the decade, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that. I feel like for me, I needed to dial back my agency in a lot of ways. Like I was taking too much action. I was trying to will too many things into existence and not giving the universe time and space and silence to tell me what it wanted back. Like one of the golden rules for Heartfelt is to have silence, to give room for thoughts to grow. And like I think you need to do that in life. If you're just constantly acting, constantly doing things, you're not giving space for the universe to react to what you're doing. And you're not giving yourself space to pay attention to how the universe is reacting to what you're doing. I think the biggest thing, though, that I needed to change, that I want to change from how my parents did things, was my dad and my mom really, really, really prioritized work over, spending time with me or my brother. And that's something that, they had to do. They needed, to earn the money. I don't blame them, but I feel like even still, they were just, all work all the time. And one of the things that I really want to be very conscious about is like compartmentalizing my life cleanly so that I can work just as much, just as hard for just as many hours, but instead of having like sporadic, random pockets of availability, I can have like dedicated time for family.
Yeah. I think that's super important. I think it's also interesting to see how it sounds like the places we come from are almost polar opposites, where my parents, they never liked work. And we somehow ended up like going closer to where each other are.
Yeah. Striving for balance, striving for perfection, striving for, the middle.
Yeah.
The most flexible option. Optimizing for agency and optionality means that you can have the spectrum to do anything whenever you need to. So you can't be on one end of the spectrum. If you want to maximize for agency, you need to be in the middle all the time. So you can, it's like playing tennis, right?
Yeah.
You're waiting for the volley to come back, so you run to the center so that you're ready to sprint to wherever you need to go next.
The golden mean thing.
Yeah. So I'm recording this, by the way.
Yeah, that's cool.
I actually want people to like stream these.
I think that's going to be a good way to also promote the platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to do number 4?
Yeah, let's do it. Can you just hit the emotes? I want to make sure they're working. I don't know if you saw me doing it before. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
We got it. What is one thing you wish someone you loved understood about you? I think for me, and maybe that's unfair because I do think that she's starting to understand, but my girlfriend for her, work is just something you do and then you go home and you get paid and there's nothing to it. Whereas for me, work tends to also be my hobby. I tend to think about it if I'm sitting in the car or taking a shower because I feel this need to create things, to do stuff. And that's sometimes hard for her to understand. And on the flip side, it's also sometimes hard for me to understand why she just wants to just do completely normal things and then not do anything at all related to work when she's done. But I do think that working for other people has taught me a little bit of more of her perspective, because I've almost always worked for myself. And I think if she were to work on something of her own, maybe she'd understand a bit more of mine.
This is my friend Neil. Say hello.
Hi, Neil. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
There's a lot of food. I already ate breakfast. Thank you. Thank you, Mama. Dude, your answer like really hit me, because I'm going through so I've been married to my wife now for 3 years. We've been together for 7. About 4 years ago, we did couples therapy together, and we're back in couples therapy now, just like maintenance stuff. And the therapist, we had one session, and the therapist pointed out, it's like, there are a lot of ways that you guys do not communicate well with each other. Meaning, I will say something and she'll interpret it, she'll translate it, and vice versa. And it's like, how do we spend the time, how do we work to not translate what they're saying and really just understand it the way that they see it, the way that they feel about the world, instead of like translating it and putting a spin on it and kind of reacting that way, if you know what I mean. And one of the things that gets translated poorly is that, like, I am like you, where I see work as like a thing that I do for fun, a thing that I do that I love.
Yeah.
And for her, work is just like an obligation and a requirement. And it's like the hurdle you have to jump over before you can have fun, before you can do the other things. And it's like literally the opposite. And so that just like very deeply resonated. But for my answer, I think that like I wish my wife understood and maybe even shared my sense of like priorities around how much what types of things I decide to care about and what types of things I decide not to care about. Because she will care a great deal about little details that I really don't care about, or like, not that I don't care about them, but like I don't have a preference over small things. And she will really, really, really like put urgency and importance on all kinds of things that I wish she could not just understand about me, but also like adopt that lifestyle herself, to not sweat so many little things, because it's just so stressful for her. And I see how it's like eating at her, and I wish there was, you know, a way that I can help her with that. And what I'm trying to do now is to help her understand that I want to help her, and that I want to take things off of her plate, so that she can kind of like, instead of gripping all these things so tightly, she can kind of just like let it go, release it to me, and then hopefully in the process just kind of chill out in general. Unlike you, I am not the breadwinner, which is the other issue, right? Like, so she's the person who views work as a requirement, but she's the breadwinner, and I'm the person who like is in La La Land, making fun, cool things like this.
Yeah. I feel you. There have been times in my life where I've felt similar, where she was being adulty and had an actual job, and I was messing around with my own stuff. I get them.
Yeah. Cool. What do you
This
think?
is super cool.
20 minutes.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
It has like it's such a simple loop, but I love the way that it progresses from level 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I think if I had any feedback, it would be that I started the game by clicking somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know if it should just be, okay, now we start with this one and then it progresses through. Or if you want it to be that as a group, you can decide to start higher up.
Yeah, I want people to be able to play. I think that's really important, that people can decide how they want to do it.
Yeah. I love the concept. I think it's actually very powerful. It's super simple, but it works.
Thanks, dude. A lot of work
I'm
went
a
into
fan.
this. This is like the third iteration.
Yeah, but it's I feel like it's already coming together. Like it doesn't need a lot to be powerful.
No. So what will happen from here is you will have a personal icebreaker collection.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you have answered questions, you've answered these icebreakers, you now get those icebreakers.
Cool.
That are in your collection. And so you're collecting them. And so every day you want to log on and get to the day's icebreakers. And then what happens is this session can go on forever if we wanted to. It could go on forever. And then after we answer all 4 questions, the AI can be like, if you guys want to, you can stay around and start adding in your own icebreakers into the queue with the people who you have here. And if you want to, you can now invite people into this session.
Yeah.
If you want to. So it's like, I really like hanging out with you, and Riley's online now, so let me invite Riley in. And then once you have enough icebreakers, you can unlock the free queue. There's like a separate queue. And in the free queue, there are no preset icebreakers.
Yeah.
So you need to like draft the icebreakers that you're going to do. And the way that works is there's like an MVP type rating system in this game. So at the end, I would say like, you are my MVP, and you would say to me, because there's one person, there's 2 people here, you would say I'm your MVP. But in a 5-person thing, you know, the votes could go any number of ways. And so the way that works in the freestyle game is the person who has the highest number of MVPs cumulatively gets to decide what level card they want to draft. And then everybody, and then they will draft it. And then one by one, you go down and you're like, okay, the next highest. So I pick level 4 first. And then you're like, okay, interesting. You pick level 4. Let me think of an icebreaker that like goes with this. And so then you kind of create your own sessions.
I love the gamification of it.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm stoked. I think this is gonna be really good.
Thanks,
I love
man.
it.
Thanks, dude.
I do have a meeting that I gotta bounce into, but I really appreciate you sharing and just going through with this.
Yeah. Thanks, dude.
Likewise, like keep me updated. Let me know when you do these. I think it could be fun to have that experience where you're like, okay, here's a bunch of people that maybe you don't know, you haven't met before. See what that's like.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thanks, man.
stoked. Likewise. How do I log out of the thing?
Just
Oh,
click
leave session.
Leave session on top left. Bye. There you go.